Hi, everyone. It's Renee Nadia with Living Beyond Limits. Look, I'm so excited today. Today's going to be an amazing broadcast. I have a guest today, Yadira Simmons. Yadi, hello. I'm so excited to have you here. Before we get
Hi,
started,
Renee.
I
I'm
want
so happy to
everybody,
be here.
hi, hi, Yadi. Yes, I'm so happy that you're here today. So before we get started, you know what I'm going to say, everybody. Hit the like and the subscribe button. It's not that difficult. Go ahead. Use your little fingers. Walking over there to the keyboard and hit the subscribe and the like button. You've been here before. You're going to come back again. So go ahead and do it. As I always share, Living Beyond Limits is a platform designed to just to encourage people and empower them to begin to operate in their God-given gifts, talents, and abilities. And my guests are the same way. They want to see women and other people soar in life. They want to help to empower people by, everything that they have on the inside of them and just pour out to people. So I'm excited today because everybody has a gift, talent, and ability that they need to walk in to be a blessing to people around the world, their family members, loved ones, and friends. So let's go. So Yadi, I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you for coming on. We have talked so much, and with me recently learning that you are so involved in your community and so many areas in the area of special needs and helping parents who have children who have special needs. And I'm so excited to be here. There's so many things that you can share. So before I let Yadi have the floor, I'm going to share a little bit about her. Yadira is a mother of three boys and one daughter. Yadira is a dedicated advocate for parents of special needs children, serving as an active member of the Special Parent Advisory Group and a volunteer with CASO, which is a court-appointed special advocate, where she fights for the rights and well-being of children in foster care. As a mother of special needs child herself, Yadira brings a wealth of personal experience and compassion to her advocacy work. She has formed a nonprofit advocacy and support group, Navigating Autism Together, aimed at empowering parents of special needs children. Yadira, and I'm so excited about this, is also writing a book, which already been written, but we'll let you share that, which outlines chronicles of her journey raising her autistic son, focusing on the challenges, triumphs, and navigating the educational system. Yadira, this is big. I hear so many parents talking about this. And so I'm excited that God has placed you in an arena where you're helping parents, you're helping the schools, you're helping school boards, you're helping communities and people around the world how to navigate through this and make life easier for parents and their children. So I'm super excited. So can you open up just by sharing what made you go into this field where you're helping parents that have children with special needs?
Renee, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited and looking forward to,
Absolutely.
our little chat today.
Thank you for.
Um, what what really just kind of pivoted me to go into this was I didn't have a lot of resources. Like I had information, but there really wasn't a lot for me to go on. There wasn't really anybody in my family I can go to, ask questions. Where do I go? What do I do? And I think that being able to kind of document my journey
Mhm.
could probably help someone else. And I am kind of learning as I go. So I can tell you what I did when he was 6 months old, when he was a year old, kind of the things that I see. But I'm also connecting with parents that and caretakers, because it's not just parents, there's a lot of caretakers as well,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
have children with disabilities, and what does their path look like as they grow older? What type of challenges are they seeing? They can help me, I can help them. So having a son with a disability is definitely something that um, made me go that direction. He didn't have a voice, so I needed to be that voice for him, and that's how I decided to advocate.
Mhm. That is awesome. And where do you find, as you're moving through this process and being an advocate for parents, where do you find some of the toughest areas are that you deal with during this time? Is it the school system? Is it other arenas or school board, daycare? Where do you find that is the toughest? People just understanding and the in position that have positions within the county and the states?
I think what I have found in my experience is that there is a huge lack of awareness. There's a lack of knowledge, not just from the parents. And it's not even because they don't want to. Sometimes they just don't even know where to go. And I
Mhm.
think that um, they try schools, I would say, try to put kids in a box. Everyone is different. And,
Mhm.
autism does not look the same for everyone. There are
Mm,
high functioning, there are low functioning. They can be in different parts of the spectrum. They can have another disability that's just not autism. So it is, the journey of a parent with a child that has a disability is quite different for all of them. And I
mhm.
think having a support system and having somewhere to go just to talk and figure things out is a great resource.
Mm. And what are some of the support systems that you've seen available, and what are some of the support systems that you think we need more of, if that's the case?
I think we need to be able to create a space where people can really learn about disabilities and how they range, how they impact. And I think that society nowadays is truly there's a lack of empathy, should I say. And I think that with that lack of empathy, compounded with the fact that you have a child that has a disability and you're talking or dealing with someone that really doesn't have empathy for your situation, that's very difficult to navigate. So
Mhm.
I think that finding a church home, a great church home is the first place to start. Support, family supports as well.
Mhm.
Friends that you can relate to. Is there a support group near you that you can talk to? Are there
Mhm.
teachers and educators in your child's lives, providing that safe and that place where that child can grow and meet all of their expectations and
Mhm.
thrive, be set
Mhm.
up for success essentially. And I
Mhm.
also think, the medical system also needs that to be able to offer parents other routes that's not just medication, that's
Mhm.
not just putting their child in a facility. I think a lot of times they're so easy to discount and
Mhm.
just kind of give up before you've even had a chance to kind of fight for your kid.
And where do you find, or where is the best place for a parent to start when they feel like their child may possibly have a special be in a position where they have special needs? Where, because some parents may not know where to start, and where would they start?
I think I think the first thing is that if a parent feels that their child may be developmentally delayed, may be on the spectrum, or may have some sort of disability. Number one, find a professional.
Mm.
Take them to their pediatrician or take them to a developmental pediatrician, which is the pediatrician that could be able to provide a diagnosis.
Mhm.
And they will be able to let you know, listen, this is the direction that you should go. Whether, if they're less than 3 years old, they can go to early intervention. If they're over 3, that's when the IEP process starts for
Mhm.
them. But I think starting with the medical community is the
Mhm.
best place so that you can get guidance, because maybe it's not a developmental delay. Maybe the child has a hearing condition and that's why they're not speaking. Maybe they can't hear. So there's
Mhm.
so many different things that it could be. It's not, I think people are quick to go to a label,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's just getting checked out to make sure what is it that I'm facing? What is it that I need to do? So that way you can be educated and get pointed into the direction where you could find the tools needed.
What about, and you and I had this conversation, and we talked about this a little bit, normalcy, and how you started to see during your process with your child, how you could see how people want to separate your child from kids that don't have special needs. We talked about that. And you see that quite often, right? And how that has to be corrected as well. If you want to share a little bit about what you shared with me, I thought that was good.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I've faced and I've been challenged with and I've seen, especially in the education system, is that I think that schools sometimes are very quick to kind of separate children and say, "Oh, we'll put these group of kids here, and we'll mainstream these kids." That's the educational term, where kids that don't have any neurodivergencies.
Mhm.
And I think that children that are on the spectrum do benefit from being around children that are mainstream. I mean, sometimes they might pick up things that aren't necessarily the greatest things, but
Mhm.
kids are kids. And I
Mhm.
think it's normal to pick up certain things, but it's also helping them with that social piece and how to deal with certain situations. Or you took my crayon, or, something small.
Mhm.
I think it gives them some preparation, whether maybe it's not the full day, maybe it's just part of the day, maybe it's just for certain classes, but there needs to be more of an integration. And I
Mhm.
think that fosters acceptance and it
Mhm.
fosters awareness. And it's
Mhm.
okay to be different. And it's okay that maybe my friend Billy doesn't talk to me, but we can play and we can have fun and it's okay.
What about, I was just thinking, what about outside of the school system? Are there programs for kids who have special needs that's minus the school, even though obviously the school should be set up, and because that's where a child will go, every child during the day. But what about after that, the weekends, things like that? Is it just kind of like
There
they're just funneled
are,
in with,
I
you
would say, I would say that, I mean, in my area in New Jersey, there are a couple of places that you can go to that really do cater to children that have sensory issues
Mhm,
and need that touch, play. The lights don't have to be so bright. There's not so much going on. But I think, unfortunately, I wouldn't say that there's a lot.
mm, mm, mhm,
Sometimes even taking a kid to the movies, it might be too much for them. So sometimes the movie theater will offer like a special day for kids with disabilities, but that's
mhm,
just one day out of how many months,
mhm,
when
mhm,
everybody else has access to the theater every day. So
mhm,
I think that we as a community, as a people, we can do so much more. And I just feel that that lack of knowledge and that lack of empathy, kind of, is not, it prohibits that, which is
mhm,
pretty, sad. And for a
mhm,
parent that already has a difficult time, sometimes a child that could be on the spectrum has behavioral issues.
mhm,
And sometimes they just want to go out and, have dinner. And sometimes it's not possible because, the child is having an issue or they don't know how to behave or they're misbehaving. And sometimes the parent is just, you're frustrated. You
mhm,
don't want to go out. People are looking at you. My kid is, but that's who they are. People that don't understand it, they find it strange, they find it rude, but there's nothing wrong with them behaving the way that they do. It just happens to be not acceptable or other people find it uncomfortable.
mhm, mhm. And when you and I talk, one thing I found with you is that you had to take the bull by the horns and educate yourself. And do you feel like on the average, it might be difficult for a parent to kind of navigate all of that and try to educate themselves? I mean, we all live in this world where we Google everything, but it doesn't mean that's going to make it easy to find information that you need for a parent who would need great information. Where would they start? Where would they go besides going to the doctor? I don't know if that specialty person would be able to help them navigate through other things that they have to navigate through, and give them some really good tools. So what are your thoughts on
Say that the medical professionals they do try their best to do a good job of like giving you a lot of resources, but they just kind of say, here you go, here's a toolbox, you go put it together, right? So what
that?
I learned in my journey is that I was lucky enough that I've been, in the legal field for over 20 years. And one of the things I did early in my career was education law as a paralegal. So I was very well versed in education law and what the rights of children are in the school system, especially in the state of New Jersey, which is the state that I live in. So that part I felt very good about. But
Mhm,
what I didn't feel really good about was, okay, now where do I go? Like even like finding a church home. A lot of times that's so hard because you go to church and you're already feeling overwhelmed. You have
mhm,
all of these pressures. You might be feeling down. It might not be a good behavior day. Like it might just be a tough day and you go to church and you really need to find that peace and you
mhm,
want to find your strength. And then
mhm,
you go and just, ma'am, maybe you want to go back and downstairs and calm him down and maybe come back up. Like, are you doing that to the baby that's crying? So
mhm,
it can be very heartbreaking.
mhm,
Why, like you're already broken and then you're going to break me further down in church. So I think for me, it was really important to find a church home that would be accepting of
mhm,
my child and
mhm,
accepting and creating an environment that he was enough.
mhm,
It was
mhm,
okay, and I was gonna be okay, and I was gonna be prayed for, and I was gonna feel reinforced. I'm gonna have my tank full of gas, and I'm gonna be ready for the week. I got it. But,
mhm,
that was really hard, I will say, because
mhm,
I needed, as someone who was raised in church and, I'm God-fearing, in order for me to truly navigate this journey, I needed to have that strength that only God could give me. I needed to put my faith in him. I needed to trust in him. I needed to trust in this journey and
mhm,
what was to lie ahead. And it
mhm,
was his path. So I think that for me, the most important thing was faith. I really needed to have to know that God had me. And I knew he did, but sometimes you just want to go to church and feel that
Yes.
like I got, like that sisterhood, the brotherhood, all of that
Yeah.
is important, I think, and, just to be in an environment of acceptance.
Mhm.
Also, finding other mothers. A lot of times when, you go to school events, you connect with other parents.
Mhm.
But I just found that it wasn't enough. It just
Mm.
wasn't enough for me. And
Mhm.
I remember having a conversation with a parent that had a child in the special needs program. And, she just broke down and she just started crying. She's like, I don't even know what to do. I have this IEP meeting. I don't
Mhm.
know. I've never had one before. Like, you don't, the school does, they send you a nice booklet, but it's like, you're not ready to read that. And even if you read it, you're like, I'm trying to make heads or tails out of all this legal mumbo jumbo. And how do I do it? So
Mhm.
I said, you know what? I said, don't worry. I said, you can have someone there with you if you'd like. I would, I could be your support. And
Mhm.
that just having me there, we kind of talked beforehand and I said, this is what's going to happen. And that made me feel great, but it
Mhm.
made her feel good. And I'm like, it does take a village. You want to be surrounding yourself with people that understand you and can give you tips. I found other parents that have much older children. Oh, mine went through that. This is what worked. Sometimes
Mhm.
that works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's nice to build a collective of people and caretakers that really care about these kids and these young adults, because they will transition to adulthood. They're not
Yeah.
going to be children forever. So
Yes.
this is a commitment, like anyone else. You have a child, by the time they're 18, 19, they're off to college and you kind of see them from a distance. But
Yes.
these children, this is my son may be with me until the good Lord decides to call me home.
Mm. Mhm.
He may not be able to live on his own, but
Mhm.
I don't know that. Only God knows that right now. But
Right.
just
Right.
speaking from today, I don't know. So I
Mhm.
have to live and prepare myself and try to prepare his journey for that as well.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like a constant, you're thinking about a million things at the same time as a parent that has a child with a disability.
Absolutely, because you're thinking about now, but you're also thinking about the future, which we all do with our
You're
kids, right?
constantly thinking about the
Yeah.
future. Just,
Yeah.
little milestones. Will they fall in love? Will they be able to have a job? Will they be able to drive? Have that
Mhm.
independence? Will they be able to go out and by themselves and just have some time with their friends?
Mhm. Mhm.
Will I see that? I
Mhm.
could, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know, but I
Mhm.
trust that whatever that is, I'll be prepared for it when I get there.
So it's like like a daily walk thing, just like we should do in life anyway. You're taking it a day at a time for a lot of things.
Take it a day at a time, and I think that um when you feel lost and you're wondering why you're on this path in your journey, I feel that leaning into your faith is important. Like Jeremiah 29 says, you have to know the plans that God has for you and
Mhm.
know that those plans are to prosper you and not to harm you. And I
Mhm.
think that when you trust that God has that purpose and that path, not just for me, but also for my son. And,
Mhm.
in the midst of all of this unknown, that faith that I have has allowed me to embrace each challenge with confidence, because I know that God is not just guiding me, He's
Mhm.
guiding us.
Mhm, mhm. And what I hear in that is freedom, and
Yeah.
freedom just to live every day like we all, should press to live. And and I love what you said because I'm sure it's helping some parents who feel like, look, I'm feeling like I'm locked up, like I'm in a box. Not locked up because, I have a child. No, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like, I don't know which direction this is going. And I haven't freed myself to say God has it. And I love what you said about Jeremiah. So I love that. And I really feel like that's probably that statement is going, what you just said is going to help a lot of parents because if not, there's anxiety, I imagine, sleepless nights, things like that. You and I talked about that. And even as I'm speaking to you right now, it's like, you can tell God is in operation. And because what's the word? Normalcy sets in because God's in control, if that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
I think it's important as you're saying that. I was thinking about what, we were talking about having a discussion about, kind of offering like a conference about this subject. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up was just that you aren't your circumstance. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of times we become, that's not your identity. It's not who you are. It's just what you happen to be going through. And I think that when I have felt myself like I'm losing myself in the daily demands of being a parent, of being a mom, of being a full-time employee, of
Mhm.
just like hoping to, help out with my parents, and just like you have to remind yourself, this is this is just my circumstance. It's not who I am. This is not
Mhm.
who Christ has made me to be.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
we talk, in Corinthians, it says, I am a new creation and my strength comes from God. So
Mhm.
not from my own abilities, but what he has done for us. And I think sometimes when we find ourselves in these overwhelming moments, and these moments could be quite overwhelming because you're dealing with your emotions, but you
Mhm.
also are trying to tune into someone else's emotions that can't really tell you how they're really feeling. You're just inferring that they might be feeling whatever they're feeling, when a lot of times they're not. So
Mhm.
sometimes in those moments when I feel that overwhelmingness and I just feel like it's too much for me, that's when I take a step back and I just have to feel like I have to lean in through to Christ, because I need to pray at that time, and I just need to read my scripture and just kind of regain my focus so that
Mhm.
I know this is a direction I'm going, and I
Mhm.
can't be deviated by these overwhelming feelings, because they can be very overwhelming.
Right, right, right. No, that's good. And again, that's what we all have to do. And so I love that. And it just gets you refocused, restabilized. And I truly believe, and you can probably attest to this as I'm listening to you, is that it's building character, it's building strength. Your spiritual muscles are being built up. And that's why you're able to help other parents, because you've gotten
Yeah,
strong out of the situation. So that's really good. And
absolutely. I think is important
Mhm. You were
for
talking
sure.
also about trusting in God's timing and plan for your child's future, and I think you hit on that a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's really important to know that, there's going to be days when things are going to be hard. And I think sometimes we really just kind of lose our mind trying to say, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Is he going to be okay? Are they going to be okay? And it just weighs on your mind. And especially when you have a child that has a disability or a special need, those fears, they take over, and you find yourself worrying about the future. Because a lot of it
Mhm.
is the future. Like, are they going to be able to navigate life's challenges? What happens when, are they going to be able to get a license? Will he have the care and resources that he's going to need as he grows up? Is he going to be able to thrive? Is he going to be a productive adult? So sometimes I think that the fears, they weigh so heavy, not just on your heart, but also on your mind. And they could just make you feel like it's consuming you. It just consumes you. But I think what I've learned in my journey is that I have to surrender those fears to God. And I feel that one of the scriptures that comes to mind that has become a lifeline for me is, I believe, Proverbs, I don't 3, 5, and 6, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. Because this isn't really for us to get. He got it. We
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
have to say, I know you got it. I'm walking with you. And I think
Mhm.
that particular scripture reminds me that my understanding is like this. It's really limited, but God's is perfect. His plan is perfect and is infinite. And I think each day I try to make a really conscious decision to let go of those anxieties. I wake up every day like you, and I have fears, but I can't live my life in that every day, because
Mhm.
I know that God sees the bigger picture.
Mhm.
Even when I can't see it, he can see it. So I think that every day I'm very intentional with
Mhm.
what I decide to surrender. And I say, I pray over my son. I pray for all of my children. But in
Mhm.
particular, I find myself praying a lot over my son's future, because I don't know where I'm going to be at. So
Mhm.
I feel that I ask God to give me that strength to just release that. So because I know he has it in control, I don't want to be in fear.
Mhm.
I know that his timing is perfect. I know that it's not easy. And sometimes the fear does try to creep back in. But I have tried to find peace in knowing that he's got it. It's a continuous process. It's a process
Mhm.
that I have to trust that God is in control. and he loves my son. He's perfect. And I know that his plan is perfect for us. So I think like, we all face those unique challenges, but we really have to trust in God. And that was not easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a process that I go through every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
you surrender those fears. And say, today, I'm going to walk in this. I'm going to walk in my purpose, and I'm going to release my fear to you. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and say the same thing.
right.
But that's okay. Maybe tomorrow I won't, but it's okay. I just have to continually remind myself that he's got me. He's got us. He's got my family, and I'm going to be okay.
Yes. We talked about something else, which I thought was great. I love the way that with your son and the way that you handle him and some of the things you do. And you can share a little bit about this, how someone talked about giving him treats for certain times. And it was so profound what you said about, no, you're not giving him a treat for yeah.
One thing that I noticed in just my autism journey is that there's a reward system that's set up, and a lot of times that reward system is food based, because that's, you try to kind of appeal to that child. But in my journey and how I'm trying to raise my child in particular, I want him to know that, yes, I'm going to celebrate all of your milestones. I'm going to, when you're crying about something that's not going your way, we could cry together. But when you're victorious, you're victorious. But this is part of life. And I don't want his disability to be his crutch, because he's more than that. And, in the school, they said, oh, we're going to continue to, when he does good, we'll give him some goldfish. That was his snack of preference. And I said, I don't agree with this approach, because in your IEP, a parent does have the ability to voice their concerns. And they're like, no, well, this is what we feel we need to do. And I said, yeah, but what I'm telling you is that is not how I operate in my home. When when my child doesn't do what they're supposed to do, they're not, and when they do, I'm not going to give him a goldfish. He's just gonna, I'm gonna say great job, and we're just gonna keep on moving, because as he grows up, guess what? When I do a good job, I just get my paycheck at the end of the day.
Right.
And when he's gonna work, whatever job he's gonna have, but his boss isn't going to come and give him a bag of goldfish when he did a great job. He's just going to get his paycheck
Right.
at the end of 2 weeks, like everybody else. So, setting
Good
up for
point.
me, it was important to delineate, this is a very false expectation for my child. But let me just say this as a disclaimer. That method did work for certain instances as he grew older. It worked for him when he was really young to kind of just get him engaged. But as he got older, I was trying to wean him off of that. But for
That's
some children, that is the only way to engage them. And I don't want to just, discourage anyone from doing that. But in my particular circumstance, that wasn't what I was trying to do. And luckily, it's not something that we need to do now anyway. So it's what works for the child.
And I hear what you're saying. It's almost like, hey, if you can lean more towards normalcy than not, because technically you can cripple any child, if you don't, introduce them to how the world really looks when they're going to be in the.
I would say that. And I would also say that is his normalcy. That is who he is. So I think that sometimes I say this, I said this one time and a posting I had did about my son. And I said, you were not born to fit in. You were born to stand out. There's no reason for every child to be put in a box. Like, this is how the perfect child is. No, everyone is different. What
Right.
makes him who he is, he's perfect the way that he is. And I think that if parents leaned into that, his stemming, those little quirky things that he does, that is what makes him his amazing self. And I learned to embrace that. And that's who he is. And it's okay. You and I, when we find something funny, we laugh. He may stem. But he's still engaging with us. He's still part of us. So I think it's so important for people to just embrace. And, when I say acceptance, it's really acceptance and awareness, because when you're aware and you accept, I think it triggers that empathy and that compassion, which I think that sometimes could be so scarce in our world today.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And I like how you even said grace um for yourself and grace for your child. I thought that was good. That's-
It's really important, I think, to just know that every day is not going to be a great day. I mean, even for our children that don't have any disabilities, sometimes you sit at the table and you're just like, did I do enough? Am
Mhm,
I doing enough as a parent? And you are. You're doing as much as you can do because you're only one person. There's
mhm,
only 24 hours in one day, and you can't do anything more than that. And I think that when I say that, I feel that sometimes what I used to do is I felt that I had to do everything all the time. So I was
mhm,
never felt that I was that things were going perfect, but in real and that imperfection was somehow a failure. And it's not a failure, like Ephesians says, teaching grace is a gift, freely giving to God. And it's not something that we earn by being perfect. Truth has transformed the way I approach the challenging moments. Like it is so that truth about knowing that grace is a gift, it really is what has kind of defined myself to just say it's okay to take a step back. If he's having a meltdown or those days are really tough and you feel like it's okay to stumble, it's okay
mhm,
to fall. If
mhm.
he fell, he scabbed his knee, it's okay. You put a band-aid on it and it's okay.
Like,
And sometimes, especially in the beginning, learning how to eat, he may have made more of a mess than my other children, but you know what? I'll clean it up later. It's not a big
mhm,
deal. And I think on those tough days, instead of getting frustrated with him or myself, I just chose to be patient. I chose to be compassionate and I chose to forgive because I know that it's not his fault and it's certainly not my fault. And I
mhm,
think that reminding ourselves that God is gracious towards us with everything that we do and our iniquities, I think
mhm,
I can offer him that same grace and trust that God continues to cover us even in those moments where we feel that we're not enough. I think it gives me like a shift in my perspective, and that shift brings me peace, and I
mhm.
know that it's okay.
Right, that's good. And also we talked about like family members. How did you even I don't even want to use the word navigate through that, but just sharing with your family members that you have, because usually our family members are a good source of a community. Not always, unfortunately, there are
Yeah.
some people that don't have that, and that's really tough because they have to look to other outside sources. Your family, how do you bring them into all of that, especially families that love
I
to be
feel
together?
that again, and you're going to hear me say this a million times, but it really is awareness and acceptance. And I will say that
Mhm,
always. I think that when for my particular family, I had some family members that I needed to explain it to because some of them were younger, some of them were older. And I think that what I realized in my journey is that a lot of people just don't know what
mhm,
autism is.
mhm,
They equate it to possibly having severe developmental delays and not being um, aware of certain things. But some autistic kids on the spectrum are some of the most brilliant kids you will ever meet.
mhm, mhm.
And
Yep.
once people really open themselves up to kind of know what autism looks like, and so many ways. Like there's people that you work with, and once you start researching, you're like, that person might be on the spectrum, and
Mhm,
they may not know. And I
mhm,
think that kind of introducing that to my family and my parents especially, I will say that my mom and dad have just always been extremely supportive, and just
mhm,
like my dad has come to my appointments with me for when he's had to go far places. And my support system, my husband, his family, they are amazing. And I
mhm,
think that just creating a culture where we're together and we accept my son how he is,
mhm.
he accepts them how they are, because it's everybody has to accept each other. I have flaws that I'm sure my sister probably doesn't like, or my brother, or my mom and dad, but we
Right.
still love each other and we accept each other because that's just part of who we are. But sometimes we get so caught up in this label, but we all have quirks. We all have different things that we don't
Yeah.
like about each other all the time, but that doesn't take away from the love that I feel for you and that I
Right.
accept you just the
Right.
way that you are.
Right. Right. What do you tell that parent, Yadi, that doesn't have that? There are some parents that who have family members that weren't bothering with them at the time before the child was even there, and definitely feel like, well, I'm going to, hang back a little bit more. Where would they start to get some support? What are some ideas that places or things that you've seen,
Some
ways?
ideas that come to mind are, number one, hold on to your faith, whatever your faith is. I
Mhm.
think that you have to hold on to something, right?
Mhm.
That maybe is not tangible to the human eye, but you may need the faith route. I
Mhm.
also think that just surrounding yourself with a community, whether it be finding a support group, sometimes you don't need to have a physical support group, it could be a virtual support group, just
Mhm.
to tap into other parents that could give you, maybe they're in your area and they can give you some resources. Oh, I know they opened up this place. Maybe we could meet there and let the kids play and we could have some coffee. Little things like that, because you do need an outlet as a parent with a child, not even just I keep saying parent, but I also want to include caretakers, because there are
Mhm.
a lot of caretakers that have taken on the responsibility of raising a child
Mhm.
with a
Mhm.
disability, and they are not necessarily the parent. So
Mhm.
I'm very conscious that it's not just parents. So I just want to be mindful that when you hear me say parent, I'm also including caretakers. So I'm
Mhm.
conscious of that.
That's good.
So
Mhm.
you really want to have a support system, because when you hear people, I would even hear people say it takes a village. I didn't really understand that, to be honest, because
Mhm.
but now I will tell you, I have the teachers, the profession, the educators, my doctors, ABA therapist, this technician, a speech therapist, occupation. I have a team of people that are constantly offering support, helping me. It is a journey. This
Mhm.
is not something that you do on your own. And if you think you could do it on your own, please let me know how you do it, because I will definitely want to hear. But it is not, and it's okay to ask for help. And I think a lot of times we can be
Mhm.
so proud to say, no,
Mhm.
I could do this on my own. But no, it could be a very disheartening journey. So you
Mhm.
want to have something to hold on to, or people that you can lean into, and just
Mhm.
people you could talk to.
Yeah. And I feel like even listening to you, it builds more normalcy when you have a community, because otherwise I can imagine you just getting totally burnt out because you're trying to carry it on your own. Like any of us, if we try to carry things on our own and don't have a community and people we can talk to and lean on, like you said, then it can be really tough. Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, not having a family to support you, you have to create your own at that point. You
Mhm.
create your own family, your support system to help you navigate, because it is important to have that. So you do need to find some sort of support. I mean, sometimes journaling helps, but even that, you kind of need to tap into just some other resources, just people to talk to, even if it's just to give you some ideas of other things that you can try
Mhm.
to kind of mitigate some circumstances and behaviors or things that the parent is going through at any given time.
Even maybe there's some parents out there and say, hey, something just clicking to them now saying, hey, maybe I'll be the one to start something. Call some moms up, get online. Any moms out there with special needs child, hey, let's talk. Let's get together and encourage each other and share stories and things we're doing that's working. That can also probably be a possibility too. Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, that's what, inspired my book.
Mhm.
I felt that I didn't have, like, I'm a big reader, and I was trying to find some resources, like, what do I do now? And part of my book is that, like, chronicling my, kind of journaling my life, in the
Mhm.
sense of, what did I see? What kind of things did I see? Maybe some of the things that I see or saw at that time could, and could be a trigger for another parent that's reading my book and say, oh, maybe I should have my child evaluated. Maybe
Mhm.
there is something wrong. For
Mhm.
me, I wouldn't say lucky in that sense, but when I had my child that has a disability, my oldest was a teenager.
Mhm.
So I knew what benchmarks and milestones my child should have had by a certain age. And I
Mm.
knew that my child wasn't meeting those milestones.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
my first step was saying, there's something wrong here. It's
Mhm.
just,
Mhm.
this is what he should be doing at this point, and I didn't see that. So
Mhm.
that I had to accept first. I was aware that something wasn't right, but then I had to accept it. So
Mhm.
once I accepted it, then I said, okay, now I need to talk to a professional. Like, what is this called? Like, I Googled, I read, I started researching. You know how I am. I have to like investigate everything. So I'm like, I think this might be autism. I think it might be this, but let me find a professional. And that's what I did. And when he was diagnosed, he was the youngest patient that that particular doctor had ever diagnosed,
Mm.
because typically parents don't see those signs until later on. Had that child been my first child, I might have missed it. They might not. He might have been getting diagnosed when he was going into preschool or kindergarten, because I wouldn't have known any better. That would have been my normal. But
Mhm.
since I had two other children, I had three kids before him, so I
Mhm.
knew this isn't right. So I think that that was part of my inspiration for my book. I
Mm.
wanted to give a guide to parents to just let them know you're not alone. This is
Mhm.
not a journey that you're the only one going through it.
Mhm.
Everyone has the same thoughts, the same fears. But for me in particular, I found that having my son with a disability further strengthened my relationship with God, because I knew that I needed to strengthen that relationship in order for me to survive
Mhm.
this journey.
Mhm. Right, right.
It was
And so,
literally a survival for me.
yes, that's good, Yadi. And I think you said this book is going to be like a part one and a part two, and probably a part three. I mean, you're probably
Yes.
going to, yes, I can see that.
I'm I'm trying to do like a series. So right now, I kind of wanted to kind of just document the journey from like 0 to about maybe like 5 or 6 years old. And then I want to document what middle school, what elementary school looked like. What kind of
Mhm.
challenges did I see? What type of hurdles did I have to overcome? Is there anything that I can kind of provide to the next person?
Mhm.
Eventually middle school, navigating that first love, crushes, how do you deal with those type of situations? And then high school, and then kind of preparing them for like entering adulthood, and whatever adulthood is going to look like for him, whether that means he's going to have his own apartment. Is he going to live here? Is he going to be okay with living independently? Is he going to be placed with other people so they can live together in a group? There's a lot of different options, but I have a long way to go before I get there. So I
Mhm.
think that I want to kind of let people know that they're not alone. There's somebody else that they can tap into, and hopefully with my nonprofit and my support group, I'm able to offer resources, not just from me, but just from a group, a collaborative, from caretakers, from moms, grandmoms,
Yeah.
dads. I want everyone's perspective, and anybody that wants to offer, I will have interviews with teachers and ABA therapists and other professionals. So I'm hoping that having those on those podcasts will offer even more insight into
Mhm.
what that looks like and things like that, just to try to really build a strong support for the families.
That's good. I have another question. What is one of the common things you think that parents miss in terms of them being, an advocate for their child? They think, well, maybe I can't say this, or maybe I can't go to the school and say that. Maybe I can't intervene on this or that. Like, have you seen anything that's common, that a misconception of the power that a parent has?
I wouldn't say it's a misconception. I think what I would say is that they don't know enough about what they can do, and
Mm.
what they that knowledge. And that's one thing that I'm very vocal about, especially in my support group, because I literally have a series on breaking down the IEP, what an
Mm.
IEP is, what a 504 plan is,
Mm.
what does the IEP meeting look like. I even put questions on things that maybe you would want to ask. I also have a whole series on what happens if I don't agree with the IEP? What do I do if I don't like what's happening? I walk through the process of what that looks like, what questions you should be asking yourself, what you should be asking the professionals in the room. Because I think that if you know what you could do, the outcome is going to be so much different for a lot of people. And a lot of kids are going to be able to thrive even more.
I mean, I watch you in action and it just amazes me. Like, the conversations we've had, it just amazes me. But I also believe that every parent doesn't possibly have that strength to do what you do, which is why you're in the position that you're in and that God put you there, because you're strengthened in that area to be able to do it and to be a voice for other parents and their children. And you're a voice for the teachers as well. You're a voice for even leaders in a community that want to help but don't know how, because maybe they don't have kids with special needs, but they see the issue. So you're a voice for a lot of people, which is just amazing. Like I said, the stories, things you've shared, I'm like, wow, that's big. It's making an impact.
I feel I feel tremendously honored. I feel that God has allowed me, I feel that my son is a blessing. And the reason that I'm here, even doing all of this and walking in what my purpose is because of him and
Yeah.
because of that gift. And I think that it has been a complete blessing to my life. And yes, I've cried and I have gone through ups and downs, and there's way more to come, but he is the reason I began walking in my purpose. And advocacy, to me, that is my passion. Like community development, finance, that's my full-time job. It's what I do. That's my profession. That's what I have my degrees in. But this and advocating, as a CASA for children that have been abused, misplaced in the foster system, and speaking up for them is what really drives me. And I feel honored when a parent says, do you have a couple minutes? This is where I'm at. And I will make time. Like I am literally on calls all the time talking to parents, and I am engaged. And once I get started, it's hard for me to stop. But I really do. My goal is to really try to empower, because I feel that if a parent has the knowledge or a caretaker has the knowledge that they need and are aware, that's half the battle right there. Then you can speak for your child. You are their voice. And I learned that even though now my son speaks, at one point he did not. So I had to be that voice and said, no, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. And this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Yadi, this has been amazing. And I mentioned, what was I thinking? Individuals finding support groups. You're it. That's your support group, everybody, right there. And she is within reach. So I love it. I love it. So what are some last things that you would share? Like something that's really like, wow, if I had something one thing I wanted to share with the parents, what would that be?
If I had to share something with the parents and the caretakers, what I would say is that we all face unique challenges. But together, I think that we can navigate this journey with strength, hope, and for me in particular, faith. So navigating autism together, which is the name of my support group and my nonprofit, is more than just an organization. It's a community where every parent, caretaker, their voice matters. Every child is filled with potential, purpose, and destiny. So I think that, we should continue to support each other, uplift each other, and inspire each other, because we are never alone in this path. And for me, that's my mission. And that's what I want to leave with, that you are not alone. There is a network of people that are just out there, and they don't have to be near you. They can be far and wide. I have people in my support group that are not in the state of New Jersey. I have people from overseas. I have people from everywhere, Puerto Rico. I mean, they're all over the place, but you're not alone. We're here, and we're able to, if I can't, I will reach out and see where we can find an answer. But I think that knowing that you have somewhere to reach out to, and just knowing, like I said, knowing you're not alone, you're accepted, and you're more than enough.
Yeah, I think if we do some digging, we'll find out that there's more people that want to help us than are against us. That's what I truly believe. Yadi, thank you so much. I'm telling you, and I have to say, everybody, we are doing a workshop with Yadi. Living Beyond Limits is going to host it, and I'm so excited and just honored to be able to do it. It's going to be a blessing to so many parents. So we will stay tuned because we're going to schedule that very soon. Yadi, give us some information on how you can be contacted. And everybody, this information she's going to share will be put in the description box. So if you don't write it down, it's fine. I'm going to put it in there, but you go ahead and share, Yadi.
Okay. So I have a Facebook support group and I have Instagram and TikTok. They're all the same. It's called Navigating Autism Together. The email I can be reached at is navigatingautismtogether altogether at gmail.com.
Awesome. Again, don't worry about it, guys. I know you're like, oh my gosh, what'd she say? Like, it's going to be in the description box. I will make a way for you to be able to contact her. I'm telling you, she's beautiful inside and out. She's smart. You heard what she said. She has a background in finance and a whole bunch. The board doesn't like to see her coming. The school doesn't. Just like, so she's power. She's power packed with so many different things, and it all fits together, which is what I love, Yadi. Before I even end this, we talked about purpose and everything that you do, and you did even before having your son, your education, your background. It literally actually fits in with what you're doing as being an advocate. You come power packed with more than what most people come with all the knowledge. So I love it. Everybody, stay tuned. It's going to be a blessing. Remember what I said, take your finger, hit the subscribe button and the like button. This was good. And there's going to be more. We'll be doing a workshop, so stay tuned. I'm grabbing her now while I can, because pretty soon I'll be calling her secretary and she'll be like, Renee, nope, you can get her maybe 2028, something like that. So I'm super excited, guys, just to have her. Yadi, thanks again.
The book is coming next year.
Yes, the book is coming out, you guys, soon. I'm going to actually add that wherever the link is to get to the book. It'll be on my website. Yadi's bio is also on my website. So as soon as the book is done, I'm going to add the link there. I'm on it. The link's going to be there for her book, and I will reintroduce it myself and, from whatever platform she's going to do it. But I'm purposely going to make sure that all of the people who are listening and Living Beyond Limits actually have access to that as well. All right, everybody, be blessed. Love you. Till next time, stay tuned. Peace.
Bye.